Welcome to another video on data to decisions. In today's video, we'll be building what is called as a floating column chart. For example, here I have shown by month the minimum temperature and the maximum temperature average on this is the data set that we have, and then we can show that or display that in a chart like this, where the column looks like a floating column because it doesn't start from the bottom. It starts from a minimum point and then it goes until the maximum, and the floating column itself represents the difference, right? So from the minimum to the maximum, what is the range? Some good examples are these minimum and maximum temperatures that you have that data for a city. You can plot that by day or month. Another good example in the human resources side would be salary range. So you may have for each grade, there is a minimum salary and a maximum salary, and you can plot what is the range for each grade, and then you can see that the grade change as the grade changes, the range of salary also changes. So you can see that visually with a chart like this. So let's go ahead and build this chart today. So we'll use the same example. We have the month and then we have the minimum and maximum. So this is the raw data. So we'll start with adding a little formula first. Before we even build the chart, I want to create a column, which is the size or the difference, right? So or the size of the floating column, which is nothing but maximum minus minimum. So I write a very simple formula to say D3 minus C3, which is maximum minus minimum, press enter. And then you can double click at the bottom right to expand or copy the formula down. So we have the difference. So now we are ready to build the chart. So I'm going to select this and also the difference. Again, we'll come back to the maximum later. We'll do the minimum and then the difference selection. Go to insert, and then we're going to do a stacked column. Okay, stacked column, 2D column, and it'll look like this. And now what we are going to do is click on in my case, the dark blue, which is the minimum series. So click on it directly so that it gets selected. And then you can change the color. So I can right click and say format data series. And then it opens up the side panel on the right. And I can go to the fill and line and say no fill. I don't want to be filled with any color. I don't want any border, no line. So what happens is when I click anywhere outside, you already have a floating column chart already, right? So this is great. I can right click on this and then say add labels. And what happens is if this is the effect you're going for, which is I want to know the float and then the size. The size of the float represents the difference. So for example, in a salary range scenario by grade, the range of salary is the difference between the minimum and the maximum salary. That is what you're showing on screen. If that's what your purpose of the chart is, then this gives everything you want. In my case, I also want to show the minimum and the maximum. So how can I do that? So there is a minimum invisible series, right, which is basically transparent here. I'm going to click and then say show me the labels, and now click on the label, go here to this label options and say inside end. So now I can see that that represents the minimum. So great. But I don't have a maximum value. So how do I show the maximum value? That is where we will right click and select the data. Now I want to bring in this maximum value. So I can call it maximum, and then I will select these values. And now immediately the chart changes dramatically. So we'll fix it, no problem. I'm going to, so now that we have added the maximum series, things look a little odd. Go back to change chart type, right click, change chart type, and go to combo, because I don't want my maximum series to be also a column. So for example, I'll show you. Let's go back to stacked column for the minimum and the difference. But for the maximum series, I want it as a line. So this is the important thing here. The minimum and the difference would be stacked columns. Maximum will be a line chart type. And I will click OK. So now it looks a lot better. And all of this is just, I want the label to be there, like the maximum value, right? I don't need the line to be there. So I click on the line, go and say no line. The line goes away. But come back here and then add a label for the line series. There we go. We're getting somewhere now. So I can click on the labels now and I can choose the position. So the position I'm going to choose is above. That moves it above. Awesome. So we have the minimum, maximum, and also the size of the difference or the float here. So we got everything we want. So now it's all about just right click, format grid lines, make the grid lines less visible. There we go. And then you can change the color of the float here. I can go and choose a different color. There we go. And you can also put a border around it if you would like. So let's go back to the difference series and the blue line, and then I can put a border, and you can border maybe a little bit darker, a little bit thickness according to your preferences. Depending on the data that you are displaying inside, you can control it. But there you go, you have a float, you have the minimum and the maximum displayed. And now I can do a chart title quickly to say min and max temperatures, in this case, by month. I believe I took the example of temperatures of London. Now let's see. Okay, we got the title. In this case, I would not put the legend. So I'm going to click on the legend and hit delete because I think, again, min and max temperature. So it's pretty clear what we are displaying. If the year is not clear, I can do something like this by month in 2023. So this has the month and then the y-axis. I don't think I need to title it because it's very clear we're talking about temperatures. So I'm going to skip those parts. I'm going to click on the chart, go into border, solid line, change it to a little bit darker gray, and then around the corners, there you have it. So now we have a chart that will automatically change. So for example, 40 to 49, watch out for the January month. And if I change it to 58, for example, so now automatically changes the column, floating column in January. So perfect. So I'm going to undo that. If you have any questions or suggestions, please use the comment section below. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you soon in the next one.